Obscura.
Welcome to another installment of Anthology Obscura. I'm Louie, and I'm joined by Sam.
Hello.
And Chris.
Hello.
So, monsters, are either one of you familiar with this wonderful anthology television show? Sammy, you first.
I know that there were reruns on Sci-Fi. I know that, and I remember the intro like so vividly in my brain. But you know what's crazy? I feel like I was just so young whenever there were any reruns that I was just interested in the intro. I don't think I stuck around for the rest of it.
Just after the Monster Family, Sammy was done.
I was like, that was a cool program. Why are they always showing this? And then I don't remember one episode. But I remember the intro.
Why do I only know the first 25 seconds
Crazy.
of the show every time I see it?
I don't think I figured it out in my brain that they were one unity. I'm like, oh, next.
Chris, what about you? What's your history of monsters?
I don't remember, it was what, like 88 to 91 or something like that?
Yeah.
I definitely don't remember like watching first run of it, obviously, because I was like a baby. But like Sammy said, I remember reruns. I remember reruns on Sci-Fi, and I remember reruns on Chiller.
Mm-hmm.
And that was I don't know, like early 2000s. That's when I first started watching. That was the time when I was like, Chiller was like the coolest channel in the world.
Yeah.
Sci-Fi and Chiller were like the two coolest. Like that was when you're at that like 13, 14-year-old threshold. That's how you like got deep into horror, was like through all that kind of stuff, right? And that's what I remember. And of course, like the intro stands out, like Sammy said. That's the thing. Like that intro is what I remember most about the show.
Yeah, before streaming, I remember Monsters and Freddy's Nightmares reruns on Chiller. On that channel. That was like the only place I think you could watch reruns of Freddy's Nightmare specifically, because even now it was streaming on Tubi for a while, but now you can't find it anywhere. But
I want to say like Sliders and Beyond Belief, like all of those like sort of quasi forgotten sci-fi shows ended up on Chiller at some point.
What happened to Chiller? Where did it go?
I don't know. I don't think it's like a network anymore. It
just vanished. A few years ago, I think that it vanished. That was a good channel. They did play some good stuff on there.
Yeah, they did. I thought that Chiller was a product of the Sci-Fi Channel.
It might have been. Maybe it was an offshoot.
I thought it was because Sci-Fi Channel plugged it a lot. They're like, ask your provider about Chiller, right? Which would make sense why those shows ended up on both, and they probably just merged right back. Because they didn't need to anymore. I
think with stuff like Pluto TV and Tubi, like niche channels like that aren't necessary. You could just push them out to streaming platforms like those.
Free streaming services,
But I remember Monsters being on that. My own personal experience with Monsters, the TV show. I remember it being one of the shows that would just... You'd be watching, and I'm sure it happened. I'm sure I said this before on the show. It'd be one of those shows that would air after something else, and I would just catch it by accident. It was later in the run. It had to have been 90, 91. I would see it on TV. Like much of the stories, the way they start at me and Samantha's our grandmother's house.
Yeah.
I do remember seeing the intro a lot, and I also remember the Sci-Fi Channel reruns airing pretty frequently and getting really excited. Because like you guys said, seeing that intro, that shot, that above shot of the town, and then it's slowly zooming in, cross-dissolving in, and being like, oh, that's that weird show. That weird Tales from the Crypt, Tales from the Dark Side show that I remember watching when I was younger.
Tales from the Dark Side, same production team.
And I'm glad you said that, because I've got a little behind. Before we get into the specific episode we're covering, I have a little behind the scenes information here about,
which is like it's kind of crazy, right? Like it's basically the exact same production team, but it's not anywhere near as well known. It didn't have a movie. It didn't have this iconic run that Tales from the Dark Side had.
Yeah. So the producer His name was Richard, or his name is, he's still around, I believe. Richard P. Rubenstein.
Yes.
Is his name. So you mentioned Tales from the Dark Side. So originally Tales from the Dark Side was kind of a team up between Richard P. Rubenstein and George Romero. And they started a production company for film and for TV. And that's where the Tales from the Dark Side concept came from. And we covered Tales from the Dark Side on the show before. We covered the Trick or Treat episode a while back. I think last year we had done a full episode on that episode. And that's a great... Tales from the Dark Side is a great anthology show, and it's guaranteed to come up when we do one of these shows again in the future.
Yeah.
But Richard P. Rubenstein wanted to produce another anthology show after Tales from the Dark Side ended. But what he wanted to do to kind of differentiate it from Tales from the Dark Side was he wanted to focus solely on the monsters and the creature effects, because those were some of his favorite episodes when the show was produced, because Tales from the Dark Side, not every episode features a monster or a creature.
It's mostly us. We're the monsters.
Right. Well, sometimes...
The spirits.
No, sometimes it would be like a ghost, like you said, or like a weird science fiction Twilight Zone-esque plot.
Right.
But he wanted the Monsters TV show to solely, every episode had to have a monster, a creature of some kind, hence the name. This is one of the few shows that lives up to the name, because I've watched this entire series a bunch of times, and every episode features some sort of weird effect of a person turning into a monster, a weird animal, a weird creature, something. Meatloaf. and much like Tales from the Dark Side, a lot of recognizable names.
Yeah, Meatloaf.
Yeah,
I think Debbie Harry's in an episode, right?
It's Tales from the Dark Side was the same way. Tales from the Crypt, even though that's a different producing group. All these anthology shows, people got their
pretty big names.
And when we jump into Freddy's Nightmares, that also features a lot of very well-known actors. But that was kind of his whole concept behind the show, and why he wanted it, that it was going to be the new tentpole anthology show from Richard P. Rubenstein, completely focusing on creatures.
Right.
One more cool thing about it was that he had Dick Smith, very popular makeup artist. He was hired as the makeup consultant to help create all of the monster and creature, like all the creatures on the show. I don't think that necessarily means he was responsible for creating every single one, but he kind of he oversaw kind of the production of each creature and the makeup effects. Yeah. And this, that, and the third. Now, to compare this to Tales from the Dark Side, this did have a shorter run.
Yeah.
Because Tales from the Dark Side...
72 episodes this ran for, so...
No, solid run. 3 seasons. 3 seasons altogether. Tales from the Dark Side was 4 seasons.
Yeah.
So this was from 1988 to 1991. So not as long, but I feel like people still to this day look back at this show pretty fondly. And I think it compares, it's a pretty safe bet to say that it compares to Tales from the Dark Side. I put each show on the same level of quality. And I'll be honest, there's probably more episodes of Monsters that I appreciate than Tales from the Dark Side, because Tales from the Dark Side had some skippable episodes every now and then that were kind of boring. And this Monsters really kind of, the fact that there was always some sort of creature allowed, especially as a kid, really wanted you to kind of stay watching and see where it was going to go.
What monster is going to come up this episode? What's it going to look like?
You know what? I'm looking now, like you're talking about Tales from the Dark Side and like Tales from the Crypt. I also don't know that Monsters ever had like a real physical release, like a home video release.
DVD. It did. I have it.
It's like out of print.
Yeah, it's a DVD box set that came out maybe like 15 years ago. It's got a big eyeball or something on the cover.
I went to go like look for the episode the other day, and I used like my voice thing on the TV to like pull it up, and I said Monsters series. That's what I said. And it was buried in the search results.
Yeah.
It was like Godzilla, Monsters Inc.
Like didn't figure it out.
It's one of those shows that like it, even saying like Monsters series, it's called Monsters, and it's not the top result in any way, shape, or form. It's a real like, I guess like a kind of a hidden gem of a series.
You got to type in Monsters 1980s show.
Yeah,
It's gotta get super. You gotta get a lot of very wordy to find it.
Yeah, because you know you'll look up monsters. You're gonna get literally pictures of monsters, and that'll be the search. That'll be what you find in the search bar. Like when you're just scrolling, you'll get Our Real Monsters, the animated series from the 90s from Nickelodeon. I'm glad you mentioned where you can watch this because right now it is streaming on Tubi, Roku TV. I think has it.
Amazon Freevee, I want to say all the fast streaming services, free ad-supported television, all of those streaming services have pretty much the same library of content, and it's usually there.
Someone uploaded all the episodes to YouTube. Several people have uploaded.
Whoever keeps uploading good obscure anthology shows. Thank you. We appreciate it. I appreciate it.
Shout out to them.
Some of them, it's the only way you can watch them. There's a couple we talked about.
We were talking about, the Henry Rollins show. If the name escapes me, also from Chiller, but that's only on YouTube at the moment. So when we get to that, that's how we're going to watch that episode.
Yeah, I'm just glad they're all out. Even Freddy's Nightmares, which we mentioned before, I think most of those are on YouTube right now.
Hey, you know what? What they didn't have when these shows came out, they didn't have the comment section. And I've been having a lot of fun looking at the comment section when we're doing these episodes because, it's like very 50-50. Half of these people just know that these shows exist and they want to go do their research and educate themselves, and then the other half have been there, done that, like seen it as many times as you have, maybe, Louis. But I saw one for this recent episode that was like, I wonder how many. Speaking about the intro, I wonder how many times that the wife had to walk into the living room before she got the shot, because there's no way she could see through that eyeball.
I'm gonna tell you right now. So let's get into the intro before we get into the episode we're covering of Monsters. So the intro of the show, the iconic intro of Monsters, features a monster family.
Oh, great! It's Monsters, our favorite show.
It's starting.
We get a wide shot from above, all done by miniatures, which is awesome. All practical effects. Miniatures with a bunch of cross dissolves, kind of like a space view.
Just
kind of like a Google Maps. Yeah.
Anytown, USA, average suburban house.
And kind of cross dissolving closer and closer to this little miniature house. And we end up in their living room. And there we see a green potato-looking father figure, like monster. He looks like a big, like, potato, like a moldy potato. He looks like a potato crossed with like what a child would draw a dookie. like a child would draw a poop like that. That's what he looks like. A giant turd with
a shit monster.
Yeah, I think he has a claw. And one hand is human, one hand is claw. I if I remember correctly. Then he's got a daughter who looks like a regular daughter from behind until she turns around and she's a cyclops. She's got one giant eyeball. Then the mother walks in and she also is a cyclops. So her genetics,
and they're all
very
wearing
strong.
Regular clothes, like normal human people.
Good thing she
clothes.
took after her mother.
Yes, mom's got strong genetics because she does not look like a giant poop. So good thing for her. And for some reason, they're looking for something good to watch on TV. And wow, Monsters is on.
Honey, it's family hour.
Our favorite show, Monsters. Now, Sammy, you mentioned. So I've seen this intro a million times. Yeah. It's great. I love it. Everything about it. I used to be scared of it as a kid because I remember seeing it on and it was like this weird. It felt like I wasn't supposed to, like this weird alien foreign thing I wasn't supposed to be watching. You weren't supposed to be watching,
yeah.
It was like Uncanny Valley for 1989, 1990.
The music is very ominous.
Which when you watch it now, it's supposed to be funny. It's hokey as hell. Even the music's kind of like...
You're going to tell me you don't want those candy critters?
Oh, for sure.
I want to dig my hand right into that bowl.
It's her favorite, candy critters, just like Monsters. But so Sammy mentioned how many takes. If you pay attention closely, really pay attention, you see the mom push the cart in, right? And in the corner of the shot, you can see her grab the chair to make sure it's there and that she's going the right direction.
They didn't put any holes in this prosthetic on her face.
You can't see shit.
The mom and daughter completely blind. You see her go around, touch the chair. Pay attention. I've overanalyzed this intro.
I thought that was so funny when I read that. I was like, oh my God, so great.
She goes around. She puts her hand to make sure the chair's in front of her. Goes around it, and they were smart to one continuous shot because she's out of frame. She goes around, and I'm pretty sure she puts like her left hand or right hand on the chair to confirm it's there before sitting down and fixing her dress to cross her legs. Then the daughter turns around to go to the candy critters, like you mentioned, Chris. And you can tell she's trying to feel where the Tupperware thing is. And she kind of grabs it and blindly turns around. And you could tell they have two inserts, and this is the editor in me, I guess, two insert shots, separate shots of them delivering their lines, because that would have never happened with them saying the lines. It is amazing. And you're right, they probably had to do this like 10 times to get it right. Because
those prosthetics one shot. Were not conducive for acting.
They were just thinking about the look.
They were 100% blind in the intro of the show. And I think that just adds to the weird strangeness, Adult Swim aspect, Uncanny Valley aspect of it's just so odd. I wish I was in that room. Like, I wish I could be in that room and see them film this ridiculous intro. They were like, this is the best intro to a show. And dare I say, listen, I love the Tales from the Dark Side intro. That music is more iconic than this music.
Yeah.
But dare I say, the Monsters intro, better than the weird, shots of the woods and lakes and roads that Tales from the Dark Side had. The Monster Family, it's up there with the Tales from the Crypt intro with the Crypt Keeper's Mansion. I wouldn't say it's quite up there, but it's probably one step below that when it comes to, and then probably the Goosebumps intro. Like, I would say those are probably the top three right now off the top of my head. Mm-hmm. Anthology, this is probably number 2.
This is great.
But
you can see why, as like a kid, I didn't understand that was the same show. Like, I watched whatever came afterwards, but as a little kid, we're talking like 4 or 5 years old, watching reruns, I'm like, what just happened? What happened to the Monster Family?
Right.
I thought it was like a sitcom intro. Like, I'm like, okay, well, that was a weird change.
Like Dinosaurs, like that show Dinosaurs at the time. Yes, it would have been similar to that. Like, it was...
My brain just couldn't put together.
Monsters, like it was humanized dinosaurs, like it's the same kind of concept.
Exactly.
One more thing I want to point out, because we mentioned I mentioned the Tales from the Dark Side music and the music from Monsters. Donald Rubinstein, the producer's brother, composed both pieces of music. So the music from Monsters and the music from Tales from the Dark Side, same guy. Doing. So that's why I feel like they have this certain feel that they give you, because it's the same dude that composed both pieces of music. Yeah. So great. Just an overall, I wish they dedicated an entire episode to this family. We learned about the Monster intro family and what their day-to-day life is like. It's you watch those stupid like AI videos where you see like a meme and then expands on the meme. Yes. Have you guys seen that?
Yeah.
Imagine someone needs. I'm gonna try to figure out. Someone needs to do with the Monsters TV show. What would AI do with the rest of that scene?
Yeah, how would the rest of the episode go?
It would probably be the
day in the life.
It'd probably be the stuff of nightmares in reality.
Yeah.
For sure.
In all honesty.
Most of those things are.
But let's jump into the Monsters episode we're covering. One of my personal favorites, the match game.
First guy lights a match, starts telling a story. When the match burns down, he stops, and the next person in line continues where he left off.
Okay, I don't know the story.
Well, there is no story. We make it up as we go along.
All right, so the match game was season 1, episode 18, aired on April 15th, 1989. Many moons ago. Many moons ago.
Many long time ago.
It stars, and it's got a pretty solid. It's a small cast, 4 actors, 5 if you
4
want
or
to count.
5, right?
One if you want to count the zombie. But honestly, pretty solid, very late 80s, 90s cast here. You've got Ashley Lawrence of Hellraiser fame.
Mm-hmm.
She's Kirsty Cotton in Hellraiser 1, 2, has a small appearance in 3, and I think Hellraiser Hellseeker, which is the 5th or 6th one. I forget. I believe it's the
lost me past
I believe it's the 6
3.
or 7 one. But still, Ashley Lawrence, everyone knows her. She's great. She's always she's honestly the best part of the Hellraiser movies. One of, besides Pinhead, obviously, and the Cenobites, but Ashley Lawrence, I've always, like, whenever she pops up and stuff, it's always good to see her because she's pretty solid, even in the hokiest stuff you could watch.
Yeah.
She's always pretty good in anything horror related. You got Tori Spelling, 90210 herself. There you go.
Big deal.
Beverly Hills. This was now.
I think it was obviously before. It was
right before. I believe it was the year before because Beverly Hills was what, 90?
91 maybe? 91, yeah.
So this was right before.
She'd probably done Saved by the Bell at this point. The couple episode run that she had done on Saved by the Bell.
Probably.
But Tori Spelling.
She got better.
Man. We'll get into that later.
Yeah.
I do have one little. I did read some when I was doing some research on the Monsters TV show. Richard P. Rubenstein, the producer of the show of Monsters and Tales from the Dark Side. If I read correctly, her father, is it Aaron Spelling? I believe is Tori Spelling, who also produced 90210, and is probably why I hate to say it, probably one of the reasons why she has a career.
I mean, she's a Nepo baby.
Yes.
100%.
I didn't want to say that, but Chris, you did. Whatever. So after I believe George Romero, after George Romero parted ways with Richard P. Rubenstein and their production company, Aaron Spelling came in and took over as a partner. So I have a feeling that might be why she's in this.
Why she was on it? That makes sense.
His name did pop up when you do research on this show. So thought that was an interesting little tidbit. But yes, 90210 herself, Tori Spelling. Oh, we've got Sasha Jensen, who I always like seeing this dude and stuff. I always remember him from Halloween 4.
Yeah.
Of course you would.
Which came out the year before.
We all said a different movie.
Yes. But yeah, Halloween 4. You said Dazed and Confused, Buffy the Vampire Slayer. He always plays sort of the jockey, bully boyfriend kind of jerk. And in this, he's basically playing all those characters wrapped up into one. And I guess he just got typecast. You know, me and Dave covered Halloween 4 like 2 years ago for Patreon. We covered all the Halloween films. If you didn't check those out, check out the Haunted Hangover Patreon page for exclusive episodes. Little plug there. And we talked about Sasha Jensen in that episode. And in this, it's funny. And when I get to it, his death scene in Halloween 4 and his death scene in this, basically the same thing. Yeah. He dies the same way. And I thought that was hilarious because both movies were basically, both not movies, but TV and a movie. But these two projects were released a year apart. So he might have even been filming. He probably shot Halloween 4 and then shot this right after.
He read the script and he's oh, this is it. This is my future.
A quick aside, I'd have to think about it like outside of Borat, right? Outside of Borat, there's not really male actors named Sasha anymore. It was like a thing. Like in the late 80s, early 90s, you had him, you had Sasha Mitchell, kickboxer. Like, where are the dude Sasha actors nowadays?
I love Sasha.
You know where you're gonna
outside of Sasha Baron Cohen, it doesn't come up as a dude's name anymore.
Chris, your first child, whenever you have it, name them Sasha. There you go.
After Sasha Mitchell, kickboxer.
Boy or girl, doesn't matter. Just name them Sasha.
Sasha Banks, Sasha Mitchell. There you go.
There you go.
Sasha Jensen.
But yeah, Sasha Jensen. And another thing funny about Sasha Jensen, this guy played a high school student for like 7 years.
Yeah, like he aged out. I mean, he's playing a high school student here, right? In '89, and then Dazed and Confused is '94, right?
Yes.
Yeah.
Halloween 4 student. Was the year before this. He was in high school.
Right.
So Halloween 4, high school, 89, high school. Buffy was what, 92, 91?
Yeah.
High school. Dazed and Confused, 95.
Dude had a decade of playing high school kids.
And
it's
he was like
it's so
30.
Interesting. That's not like that anymore. I feel like back then.
Euphoria.
Yes.
I was just gonna say that. I was gonna say like back then, like there you would hire kids to play kids and then adults to play teenagers, but no teenagers to actually play teenagers. Except for now, we're actually trying to cast people who are teenagers or look incredibly young, like Euphoria.
Right.
But it's okay. It's okay.
And in this, I would say they look young. I think they look pretty young in this.
The rest of the cast look like they're in their 20s, but as long as the rest of them look like they're in their 20s, then you can fake it. If you have like one random teenager with a 37-year-old dude, you're gonna know.
Well, you know what? It's not explicitly said that they're high school students.
Yeah, that's true.
So
that's true.
They just say school. Everyone at school thinks you're a weirdo. Right. But at the same time, if they were in college, who talks like that at 21 years old or 20 years old? You know, if you're in high school, like everyone in school thinks you're weird. That's more of like to me at least, that's more of a high school line.
Yeah, that's true.
And
Can
even
I just
Ashley
say,
Lawrence,
and I want to put something out for the listeners, and I want to get some opinions on this when this episode drops. And you and I, we talked about this, I think when we first decided we were going to do this episode, and you were like, no, that's not, I don't know how you did that. But when I was a kid, used to, and this, I might be an idiot, I might be the only one, I used to confuse Sasha Jensen and David Johansen. I think they look alike. Like way similar. I used to think like the dude from Buffy was in Scrooged. Like I thought that's who that was.
I could see it. David Johansen's a little older.
He's older, clearly, right?
I don't see it.
I want to see what I want to get the listeners' opinions on this. I want to we need a poll here.
I'd say probably similar features. The coif of hair.
Yeah, they have that
everyone had that.
I don't know, harsh face. Like their features are harsh, you know, like almost like angles on their face.
The big brow.
Yes,
the big brow bone.
It's the brow. But on the subject of Sasha Jensen, I always like him. I always think he's great.
Yeah.
I'm surprised the dude retired so early in his career because I don't think he's in anything anymore. I
don't know.
I always thought he was likable. Even as a jerk, he was always a likable.
He's good at doing it.
Douchebag.
He's a good actor. Yeah.
And to round out the cast here, we've got Byron Thomas, who has done a lot of voice actor work. I think he's done like a lot of like Pixar movies or something like that. And he was also, funny enough, I mentioned this show earlier a bunch of times. He's in an episode of Freddy's Nightmares.
He screams as the sharp blades cut into his face. 3 deep cuts, skin split, exposed bone and muscle and blood.
So the match game follows 2 young couples, or what I think are couples, because I'm pretty sure the Sasha Jensen and Tori Spelling, they're a couple, but Ashley Lawrence and Byron Thomas, they're like a new couple.
Mm-hmm.
I think, maybe they're friends and there's maybe a little something more, but they like come together. They start together, the other two start together.
But yes, follows 2 young couples, and I've got the character's names. There's Jody and her new, like I said, maybe slightly odd boyfriend, Paul. Mm-hmm. And then Jody's friends, who are a couple for sure, Matthew and Beverly. That's the Sasha Jensen and Tori Spelling character. That's Matthew and Beverly. The 4 are planning to spend the night in an old haunted mansion to play, like the title says, the match game. So now what is the match game, you ask? I'm sure the listeners are like,
not a dating show.
It's not.
It's not.
I know when
it's
you read the
thing
title.
With the cards.
Yeah, when you read the title, you're like, wait, what? Are these couples going to do some crazy stuff? No. So the match game, the point of it is for each member of the group to strike a match and tell a scary story, but they have to jump to the next participant when the match goes out. That's sort of the concept. Even though Tori Spelling's character blows it out a couple times and they skip her. So basically, grab a match, light it, tell a part of this scary story, and the next participant has to add to the same story, and they only have a couple of seconds or a minute before the match goes out. And again, they're in this haunted, creepy, abandoned mansion to set the ambiance for this, I guess, young people's, the 80s, the late 80s, when that's what young people wanted to do, hang out and play the match game in a haunted, creepy mansion. Honestly, it sounds like a fun night to me. Like Sasha Jensen's pounding down beers, if I remember correctly.
Like it's cool. You're hanging.
Hanging in a haunted. Sounds like a very Halloween activity, and I'll get to that.
I'm in.
I'll get to that a little later. So the group begins telling said story about this past owner of the mansion by the name of Herbert Waverly.
Herbert Waverly.
Yes. Thank you, Chris. That's exactly how Sasha Jensen says it, because he's the one, that character, Matthew, is the one that starts the episode. Of course, the bully jerk guy is the one that has to go first. He even fights. I think he grabs the matches because he's like, I'm going first. But yes, the past owner, Herbert Waverly, who was having an affair with a married woman. So this is how I'm going to break this down. They're telling the story, and it's constantly evolving as each participant grabs a match and lights it. So
they put their own spin on it, each person. Yeah.
So Herbert Waverly was having an affair with a married woman, and it escalates when Herbert murders the woman's husband and then buries, not buries him. I don't know if he buries him or dumps him in the lake.
Dumps him in the lake because he says at one point that the still waters of the lake filled his lungs or something like that.
Yeah, so
the guy drowns.
The lake is very important to the tale because they constantly go back to it. Like the man, Herbert Waverly, goes back to it, the woman. It's very important to the story. So what ends up happening is on the way back to his lover, Herbert has an accident involving him falling off of his horse and landing into some sharp objects which disfigure his face. I don't know if it's like metal or a gate or a rack. It's some sort of... It's something sharp that he falls off of, and it lands on his face, and it disfigures him. Eventually, all of this trauma causes Herbert to throw himself into the pond and eventually come back for revenge. Or like, not revenge, almost like his spirit haunts this area. Right. So each part of this story goes from... Because the Tori Spelling character, Jody, she kind of wants the story to be all happy and not scary. You know, that they're kind of playing up that she's a wuss, and they keep making it grislier and grislier as it continues on. Paul, he's got this weird connection to the mansion because,
which you catch at the very beginning of the episode. He like puts his arm up on the house as they're entering, and he like hears voices. Yeah, which is like a strange little bit of foreshadowing that I guess comes back into play.
Yeah.
He's got some weird kind of a mutant power that allows him to communicate with the dead or something, or it's not if it's the dead or he can control stories and bring them to life. It's never quite explained.
He Jumanji'd that shit. That shit. Everything came to life.
It's not important. He can bring stories to life. Yeah. So as they're telling this story about Herbert and him becoming disfigured and killing this man and trying to get with the guy's wife and then throwing himself into the lake, we see a very soggy and zombified, what I can only assume is Herbert coming back to life. And what ends up happening is as the story is getting more intense, and Paul is getting more intense and continuing on with his story, the zombie approaches the house, knocks at the door. What happens? Matthew, like I teased earlier, gets killed very much in the way that Michael Myers killed him in Halloween 4. And Beverly, who we'll get to her death a little later, is also killed. Now I want to talk about Matthew's death real quick here before I continue on and how this all gets wrapped up, because that's really the entire plot. There's not much to this story. So when Matthew, he's obviously the brave one. He's like,
he's the tough guy. He's the tough guy.
There's no one out there.
He mentions that he does this every year.
Yeah.
He mentions he does this all the time. This is like his thing, Right. He's like the cool guy who does this thing.
He's got his biker leather jacket on. He's like a stereotypical.
Not scared. He's not a scared.
Almost borderline greaser character.
He says words like use. Hey, use guys. Use guys.
Yeah. What you doing? Give me the match.
What you doing? He goes to investigate the knock at the door. And this is why I want to talk about this, because the scenes are even lit almost identical, which is like they must have watched Halloween 4 and were like, you know what, let's kill him the same way. So he goes to the door and Zombie Herbert breaks through a window into the house. And Matthew tries to fight off Zombie Herbert. Zombie Herbert grabs him, kind of lifts him, and then snaps his neck.
Yeah.
Right? And
Real
keep
quick,
in mind,
after he stabs Herbert and
he tries to fight back with I think it's a fire poker.
Like a fireplace poker, yeah.
So and he even tells the rest of the gang, make a run for it, guys.
Yeah, and where do they go? They fucking run upstairs. Traditional like horror movie stupidity.
Now
they're standing in front of the door.
Now let me lay out this scene for you now in Halloween 4. So Sasha Jensen's character has a shotgun, tells, I forget the characters, but the two leads, Danielle Harris is one of them, and I forget the other character's name off the top of my head. We're not talking Halloween 4 really, even though I'm talking about it right now. And he tells the two girls, make a run for it. And he tries to fight Michael Myers. And where do they run? Upstairs. And when Sasha Jensen approaches Michael Myers, what does Michael Myers do? He grabs his head, lifts him off the ground, and sort of crushes him, snapping his neck. He literally died. He died the same way in two separate things.
They had to have done that on purpose.
It's got to be.
Because they saw this guy in the film, and they were like, well, he'd be perfect for this part, the role about the guy getting his neck broken.
The guy who sacrifices himself, who's like the tough guy, go guys, go, I've got this, and then he gets killed. I just thought that was really funny. I wanted to compare the two scenes. They're even almost lit the same way with a bright sort of light coming in through the window. I'm telling you guys, watch the scene.
I remember the scene, but like I it's not fresh in my mind like this episode is. So now I feel like I gotta go back and watch it.
Literally, there's a blue light coming in through the window. It's a little more. It's more cinematic because that's a film and this is a TV show. But there's blue light. There's a light shining through the window, lighting up the whole space. Quite similar. Not as epic as the Michael Myers scene, I will admit, but this is pretty cool too, and
pretty cool.
Very much the same death scene. So I got a kick out of that because I forgot that
that's so funny.
That's how he dies in this. Very much like the character. And he's also kind of douchey in Halloween 4, but he's douchey in like a cheating boyfriend type of way in Halloween 4. So there you go.
Taking his own life, ending his misery forever. His name, Herbert Waverly.
So Jody realizes that Paul is sort of responsible for this because Zombie Herbert doesn't like mirrors and he sees himself in the mirror and it moves very quickly. Did you guys catch a detail at all of what made her realize that Paul is the one controlling it? I know Herbert doesn't like looking at himself in the mirror.
Yeah, it just as they're going, they realize that the story came to life, and then there's like this realization that to finish this, we got to finish the story.
I think that I think they do kind of hone in on the fact that like his match is not going out nearly as fast as theirs.
Yes.
Right.
They do focus on that. They zoom in on that, and everybody kind of gives them the look. And I think that's when it clicks to her that he's controlling most of what's going on in the story and in real life.
Yeah, so
but they don't know why.
I was even, and I've seen this episode many times.
Mm-hmm.
But even watching it, I was trying to figure out, like, I see she notices the matches. They notice that Herbert Zombie Herbert doesn't like to see his reflection in the mirror. That's why he breaks the mirror. And I'm like, all right.
Which is a detail from Paul's story.
Yes. Yeah. Which I glossed over, so my apologies.
He found himself so ugly and so appalling after the accident that he hates mirrors and the way he looks.
Yeah, so I was just curious if there was, but I think you guys are right. She just kind of puts two and two together and realizes that Paul's magical power is what's bringing this zombie back from the dead that's killing everyone. Right. So she tells Paul to finish the story. Like I said, Cody Rhodes, American Nightmare, finish the story. Got to finish the story, Paul.
I'm telling you, it's like Jumanji. They said they got to finish the game.
Can't do a single episode without a wrestling reference.
Finish the story, Paul. So Paul finishes the story. He starts breaking down that zombie Herbert. He orders him to go back to the lake, and zombie Herbert basically dissolves to nothing, vanishes.
Instantaneous.
Banishes him back to whatever crypt he was laying in. And the couple leave the house the next morning. I wouldn't say unscathed because two of their friends are dead.
Yeah, very dead.
They leave.
But they're okay.
And they leave and live on another day. I hope Jodie makes Paul officially her boyfriend after this traumatic experience.
I mean, that's trauma bonding is one way to start a relationship.
Trauma bonding.
I sure hope so. But yes, that was the match game.
This isn't happening. This isn't happening. Don't touch me. Don't get him away from me. I don't know about this room. You know about the mirrors. You did this. You're evil.
Initial thoughts on Monsters, the match game, Sammy. What did you think of it? Just the overall story.
I loved it. What's not to love? No, you know what though? I don't often say that I love our choices because I'm because I'm honest. But I actually really liked it. I thought it was very simple and well executed. I always bring up the acting in the show. I would say it's 2/3 of the way great acting. Tori Spelling's awful in this episode, but everybody else fucking nailed it. I love Paul's. I wonder if it was an acting choice or a direction, but he doesn't blink in this entire episode, and they kind of allude to him being like mysterious and sexy and quiet, and everybody talks about how weird he is, and she's like really into him being weird, and now it's all making sense. I think. Overall, it was really cool. The monster was really cool. I love the death scenes. I usually look forward to those a lot. I was into it, man. I was really into it, and I want to play this game, but it won't come.
You want to play the match? Can you even buy a box of matches anywhere? I don't even know.
You can. They give them out for free in some places.
Home Depot or something. Like to light a barbecue.
I can't tell you when was the last time I bought a box of matches. What about you, Chris?
I feel the same way Sammy does. I love this episode. I thought it was great. Yeah. I could go and be real like nitpicky about it, but like it's fine. It's a great episode. It's fun. It's 22 minutes. It's a 22-minute like essentially like a Friday the 13th slasher movie. Like it's an 80s slasher in 22 minutes. Like it's fun.
It is.
I do want to point out, and there's a lot of stuff I love about this episode, and I will say it is one of my personal favorite Monsters episodes. I think the overall story and the setup and the execution, minus Tori Spelling's acting and stuff like that, I think the other three actors are pretty strong. Again, Ashley Lawrence, Sasha Jensen. These are two actors that are known for being great in other stuff. And I even said it earlier, Ashley Lawrence is great in the Hellraiser movies. And even seeing her in this episode, she gets the special guest credit, if you guys noticed in the beginning.
Yeah.
Because she, at this point, Hellraiser was a few years prior, and she was known for those movies. And I think they had already made two of them. So people, know her from that series. And I think the strongest thing about this episode, and even in my own notes here, just some of my favorite things about it, I think what this has is really strong set design and cinematography. The exteriors of that Victorian mansion, it almost looks like something plucked out of, Amityville Horror or something like that.
Yeah.
It's those shots
like a
of them.
Bates Motel kind of looking thing. Yeah.
Yeah, like they obviously I'm pretty sure only got the exterior and the interiors are set, because if you notice both exteriors of the house are during the day. So they probably shot that one intro scene and the outro scene and then just kind of edited them back together, because the inside does feel like a set, but even the inside, just the lighting, that blue lighting, all the heavy shadows, the light peeking through the window. I talked about Sasha Jensen's character's death and how that's really well lit. And this, we watched this on like a 4:3. This is not Blu-ray quality remastered, and you can still see the kind of the details that went into the direction, the cinematography.
That's what I was thinking when I was watching the episode too. I was like, this is pretty legit considering it's an anthology made for TV. Which I don't, Louis, you would know more than I do, but I can imagine just the scene with them in front of the fire, in front of the mashes. That's not easy to film, even with what we have now.
And
so
I'm glad
they put a lot of love into this.
I'm glad you mentioned that, because when they're telling the story, there's great framing of the camera passing around there, like in actual time, like a continuous shot. There's a couple of cuts here and there, but for the most part, pretty continuous of the camera passing. The thing I can compare it to is the Reservoir Dogs shot, where the camera's behind them, circling them, and it's passing behind them, and they light the match, and the actors are reciting this dialogue, and it's a really good just framing. It's a great shot. Like those shots are great.
It's a really really skillful episode. That's what I'm sure we're going to get into the VFX, the kill effects too. Like really good stuff for, like Sammy said, a TV show.
Yeah, and it's just the atmosphere 100% was spot on for this. And I said it earlier, Halloween vibe. If they added a single jack-o'-lantern to this in the background, this would be a Halloween episode. Yeah. Just the way it looks, just the way everything was, the production was so strong in it, and it's got kind of a fall vibe to it, that this would be perfect, even though technically it's not Halloween, but this would be perfect for a Halloween watch. Just the scary story aspect of it, the zombie, young people in a haunted house.
Young people in a haunted house. So like within the first 3 minutes of their dialogue on the porch of this house, talking about what they're going to do later that day or the next day, I just assumed it was a Halloween episode, because again, they had mentioned that this is something they do every year. So why else would they be doing this? Just on a Tuesday night in July?
Right.
No, I kind of feel like it feels like Halloween without having to have a jack-o'-lantern. Would have been dope.
It would have been cool if there was
to see as a jack-o'-lantern.
It would have been cool if there was one jack-o'-lantern behind them in the distance.
But
glowing. That would have been spot on for this episode.
It feels like a little celebratory. It feels like a tradition. I think it's cool.
And there's one detail there too, to go back to the Halloween vibes it gives off. There's a shot where Tori's spelling, I guess she's bitching to Sasha Jensen's character, and he sticks his tongue out and he's got a fake spider on it.
Yes.
I don't know if you guys noticed that. So that was a nice detail where I'm like, this could easily, be set on that.
It might be that they just decided not to make it so obvious. Well, you just have gag spiders hanging out.
Yeah,
you just have to keep them in your pocket for fun.
You don't just buy those year round.
No, dude.
When I watched it a third time, I
like that scene. I was like, ooh.
A third time, it's very sexy. When I watched it the third time, I was telling myself, is there any clue that this is a Halloween? It just feels like it, but there isn't. I've watched this at least 5 times, 5 or 6 times, and I can't.
Louis, would you say that is an issue you have with the episode?
No issue. It's not an issue. Okay. I got my issue when we get to I have one little con, but it's really nitpicking.
I have a con too, and it is nitpicking because it's a great episode, but I have one little one also.
We'll get to that in a second, because one thing that is great, and you mentioned that as well, is the special effects.
Yeah.
And I didn't want to, during the breakdown of the episode, I didn't want to mention it, to focus on Zombie Herbert. He is so slimy and gross. He looks like gack has been poured all over him.
He's got a little gooey gus to him.
And he's always going too. That
Always.
takes work.
Very phlegmy. He's always got.
That's enough.
He's extra juicy. Extra juicy.
He is pretty.
Moist.
He looks gnarly. He's decomposing. You can see a kind of a skull peeking through, skin flaps, raggedy clothes, and just 100% just gook.
Yeah.
Pouring.
A swamp
Every
monster.
scene. When he grabs Sasha Jensen and snaps his neck and drops him, Sasha Jensen is covered in slime.
Yeah.
Like, what is this pond
And when he
made
stabs
of?
the fireplace poker through him, he pulls his hand out and he's all gooky.
He's all gooey. This pond, just slime. That's all.
Yeah,
that
just
goes
a gross pond, like just decades of
toxic
decay.
waste.
Yeah, it's
And then he turns into the Joker.
Then yes, exactly. He comes out dancing down steps in the Bronx. Wrong Joker.
I was gonna say.
Wrong. That is not Nicholas. No,
two
Jack
opposite
Nicholson.
ends of the spectrum
Not
there.
Jack Nicholson or a Jared Leto Joker. Whatever. You guys know what I mean. But to talk about the Beverly death now. And
it's my favorite part of the
It's a
episode.
moment we've all been waiting for.
Now, keep in mind, this was for regular broadcast TV in 1989, where when people definitely had more sticks up their asses at this point in 89.
They had to go to work the next day.
But just censorship and stuff like that.
Yeah.
So when Beverly, Tori Spelling's character, is killed, she's screaming like an idiot because she's frightened and the wuss of the group. Herbert approaches her, grabs her head in a similar fashion of Sasha Jensen's character.
He's choking her first. Yeah, he's got his hands around
Chokes
her
her.
neck.
There's some foreplay.
Yes. And literally smushes her head like a grape.
And
you see him. It's not very bloody. Something comes out of her mouth.
No. It's a quick like it breaks like a watermelon. Her head.
Yeah, but they had to draw the line somewhere.
Yeah, they could. But he almost like
blood
folds
and mush.
it. You know what it looks like? No, it looks great. It's a great gore effect.
Yeah, it's a
it
great
almost
effect.
looks like a latex Halloween mask.
I was just gonna say that.
Balled in, and they put
Yes.
something to protrude out of her mouth that looks like her tongue or something. And it's a little dark, so it's hard to tell. But nonetheless, the visual. I'm surprised. Now, I don't know if this was cut on TV, and probably not. I'm assuming it wasn't. That was a great effect and pretty nasty for regular primetime television.
He evaporates her head because, they cut away from the head being smushed for a sec to show the reaction of the other two, and when they cut back, there's nothing there but his hands. Yeah, and he's like wiping it off.
Yeah, it's a very very phlegmy when he lets go of her.
Yeah.
let's go. It's like bleh. He plays with her eyeballs. Did you guys notice that?
Yeah. He's got one hanging down. Yeah.
Yeah, they're they placed the eyeball or two in the slime, and he's just like juggling them back and forth. Really, really just nasty.
It's like one of those rubber chickens that you squeeze and the eyeballs come out.
Yes.
Louis, I wouldn't be surprised if it really was just like a really thick latex mask, and that's exactly what they did. That's probably exactly what they did. They just put it on a dummy and.
It reminds me of a Lucio Fulci kill. Just
my one nitpick about the show lies in this moment, and so we'll get to that in a little bit too.
Well, you can use this to transition, so this is a good place to go.
So my one minute nitpick about it is that it doesn't look enough like Tori Spelling. It looks manly. It looks manly. Yeah. Not to say that Tori Spelling is 10, whatever. It looks a little too masculine. It looks a little too masculine in the split second that they show it. That's my literal one nitpick. But
it's so quick.
TV. Exactly.
Yeah.
But we also love it because it's still it's campy and cheesy.
Yeah,
now,
I love it.
I'm sure it was horrifying first time.
I don't love her yelling tirade. I swear, I watched this episode like 3 times. There's a stretch in there, like 2 or 3 lines of dialogue. I don't know what the fuck she says. It's just shrill, like yelling. I put subtitles on and it still didn't come up. It said inaudible yelling. It's just like at that point you're rooting for her head to get crushed because she's so goddamn annoying.
Dude, that's why they do that though. Yeah, that's why they do that. There's a difference between the scream queen and then that inaudible yelling girl. It's just we want her dead.
This girl went on to star in Scary Movie 2, for God's sake. So
come on, have some respect.
It's not like she went on to. It's not like she. No offense to her. But, you know, I like Tori Spelling. No problems with her. I've seen her in other stuff. I dig her. She was good on 90210. But
Donna Martin graduates, man.
It is Tori Spelling. It's not like she's, you know, winning any any Oscars here. So
we know who she is.
And for the role as a wuss and how like kind of the nagging girlfriend, it worked.
Yeah,
you know, you knew she was gonna be killed. Again, I said it's like a Lucio Fulci kill.
It was satisfying.
Yeah. It's like a Jason Voorhees, Lucio Fulci ridiculous kill that's perfect for an annoying character. And that's probably why they did it. They were like, we need someone that's really annoying. And they might have told her that. Be annoying. And that's the only defense I will give Tori Spelling on your your dislike here, Chris. So that's it. I'm defending Tori Spelling, I guess, in this episode. Sammy, what's something you didn't like? What's your con about the match game?
You know, I feel like every time we do the con thing, right? Like I'm just trying to find something to really have an issue with. If there's children in the episode, I'm always going to have an issue. But there's no kids here, so we don't have that issue. My only con, just because I so desperately want more all the time. My only con is like I want to know why Paul is called to the house to begin with. I wish even just we devoted like the last like 13 seconds to come up with some bullshit as to Herbert was my uncle.
It's never cleared up. Never cleared up.
He goes to the house in the beginning and he hears Paul and he's like, I hear you. Yeah. And then he has this, the match doesn't go out. And then it's very clear that he's dictating the whole story. He's just seen as mysterious. It's just this like, he's strange and unusual and he can talk to the spirits. Like I that's the only thing I have bad to say. The Tori Spelling head smashing. It's like, we hate it, right? Like it's so ridiculous, but I absolutely love how ridiculous it is.
I love it.
I sent you guys the gift the other day.
Yeah.
You did. I love that you found that.
It's so good.
It's so good. Yeah. I would say with that, and that's just because the rest of the episode is so beautifully shot, filmed, cut, sound, everything is so good that it feels when you go from the kill with Sasha, what's his character's name?
Sasha Jensen,
Johnny?
Matthew.
Tommy? Matthew. When you go to the kill with Matthew and immediately into Tori Spelling, it just feels too opposite. It doesn't flow for me. That Matthews looks realistic and we can kind of do something with that, but Tori Spelling's is just so ridiculous. Yeah. That's my only thing, but Paul, like what's up with this guy?
I'm telling you.
Part 2.
I'm telling you, I think they purposely made the Tori Spelling character's death more brutal on purpose. It had to have been done on purpose.
Yeah, because she sucks.
Yeah,
it's not the brutality. I think it's more so the shot, the visuals of it. Yeah.
My only kind of, and you know what's funny, to kind of roll back a bit here. So I've been listening to an audiobook of all the scary stories to tell in the dark. Complete with sound effects and music and everything.
That's amazing.
That's fun.
So I've been listening back to them and you know, a lot of these anthology shows that we talk about and anthology films, you know, a lot of these stories are contained in a book's case, probably like 4 or 5 pages. It's a short story. Yeah. So I always am a little gentle on plot holes and things like that because in reality, you know, I always joke around. I overthink some of the small details when we cover these shows and even when we cover TV, Halloween specials, whatever it is. I even like listening back to those stories, they never explain to you like for example, the story of the family that brought back what they thought was a chihuahua from Mexico, and it turns out it's a rat with rabies to their son. Like, their son's that dumb, he doesn't know the difference between, like, you know, there's certain things where it's like, you gotta suspension of
You just
disbelief.
gotta take it.
Sometimes things that are ambiguous, that's it. Paul he's a mutant.
Right.
He's an X-Men.
Yeah.
That's why he can communicate. He can communicate.
And he doesn't
with
blink.
dead
He never
people.
has to blink.
Lisan Al Gaib. All the Pauls are Lisan Al
Lisan Al
Gaib. That's it.
He can communicate with the dead. He hears voices when he touches things. He can some sort. He feels their presence. I don't know. That didn't bother me. Yeah, he is. Listen, he's a stud muffin. He doesn't, it's the eyes. He doesn't blink. My only sort of dislike, and this is nitpicking, I wish a little more tension, but I think that plays into the length. It is a 30-minute long, technically 30-minute long episode. So they only had 22 minutes, 30 with commercial breaks to tell this story. So you can't expect them to give you every nook and cranny. And then, like,
you got to be economical with your runtime.
Exactly. You know, if this were maybe an hour long, we would have learned about Paul a little bit more. We would have built up Herbert coming back as a zombie and then approaching the house little by little. You know, we know from the beginning that it's a zombie. We know it's a zombie. So imagine if you didn't know that was a zombie. I feel like it would have given it more tension. But in reality...
Yeah, I wasn't sure at first what you meant about the tension, but that is true. I see what you're saying. I think that, like, I kind of... Once they went to, like, a second shot of him while they're telling the story, I kind of just accepted it at that point. I'm like, oh, it's too soon. Like, give me a second. Like, I want to get spooked out first before I, like, see what this thing looks like. But they give him away real fast. But it makes sense. 22 minutes, 30 minutes.
Yeah. You're not going to... You're going to get as much as you can. I'm sure
when
when they shoot these things...
It out,
I'm sure when they shot this, they probably had, like, a 45-minute long episode, but they have to cut back. They probably shortened the story. They probably have cut stuff out.
And he looks dope. They want to give him as much screen time as they can.
And it goes back to the whole point of the show, to focus on the
monsters.
And they did that in this episode. So, closing thoughts. Sammy, closing thoughts on Monsters, the match game.
I'm so excited that you chose this episode because I really I'm that's probably what I'm going to do tonight. There's no more Olympics on for the day, so I'm just going to watch more Monsters episodes.
There we go.
I loved it. I thought it was absolutely awesome. If you can revisit Monsters, definitely do that because this was a great one. What
about you, Chris?
Yeah, I think we've done a lot of these. Like we've done a lot of Anthology Obscuras, the three of us. It's super rare that we're all this much in agreement on an episode. You know, like we all have very varying tastes. Like, but I think we all agree like this was a solid entry, like a great episode. I'm gonna do the same thing. I'm gonna watch a bunch more episodes when we're done here.
There you go. This inspired you guys to watch it. I'm sure I can confidently say this will probably come back to Monsters again sometime down the line in the future. We'll do another Monsters episode because there are a lot of good ones.
We gotta do the one with the zombie boyfriend who comes with the grandma from Ghost Rider. That's the second Ghost Rider reference I've dropped in this episode. We gotta cover that episode next.
To me, you know, if you're obviously most people watch these shows in order, but if you want to bounce around, I think the match game is a good place to start.
Absolutely.
You know, and there's a lot of gems. To me, this is probably my favorite episode. Yeah. You know, and I've watched the series a bunch of times. One of those things I'll put on in the background and just give it a watch and just leave it on as background noise sometimes, or in the morning when you're eating breakfast. And I always have gone back. Like I said, I think I've watched this episode at least 5 or 6 times. 3 in the last week for this episode of our show. But in the past, I've watched at least 3 or 4. And every time I watch it, I'm like, oh, it's the Ashley Lawrence zombie episode. Like, that's how I remember it because of her and because of the zombie. But yeah, I think it's a good place to start. It's strong. It's deep. It's 19, what did I say, 19, I believe?
Yeah.
18.
19.
It's episode 18. So
that's what's great about Anthology. You can start it wherever you want.
But the fact that it's so deep into the run is good. That means, you know, again, it shows you that the show, had good stuff leading even up until that point. Because there are some other episodes, like the episode Chris just mentioned. There's a bunch. There's one with the rats that are a tribe that that the scientists discover a group of rats that are living like tribes people, and they're fighting them back. That's a story for another day. But yeah, the match game, great episode. I'd recommend checking it out. Even if you just watch one episode of Monsters and you want to take our recommendation, I say give the match game a watch. Perfect for the upcoming Halloween season, if I do say so myself.
We made it up, but you brought him here. You can send him away. We have got to finish the story.
I have to finish the story.
So that was Monsters, the match game. Be sure to subscribe, follow us on Instagram, Twitter, TikTok at Haunted Hangover. Head over to hauntedhangover.com where you can find links to everything, including our Patreon page where you can gain early access to episodes and bonus content.
And if you could rate and review us, that would be greatly appreciated.
And as always, remember, the best cure for a hangover is...
More booze.
Catch you guys later.